Hello there, my cozy babe, and welcome back. It is a beautiful Pacific Northwest day, and today we are doing our winter edition of Big Sister Advice. This is an episode of our podcast that we do seasonally where we basically sit down. I take an amalgamation of all of the things that you have written into me over the last season and I answer all of your questions. And I will say, I did go through, read a ton of stuff that y'all sent with a lot of context, and I pulled the questions out. So rest assured, if you wrote into me, I read your context, I know what's going on, but I simplified everything down to questions just to keep the podcast a little bit easier and a little bit quicker. Because if I sat and read everybody's novels that y'all wrote me, which I love, if I sat and read everybody's novellas, we would be here for like 4 hours. So, that being said, today we are going to be getting right into it. This first question is, how do I enjoy the holidays again after losing loved ones during that season and feeling like the holidays are now tainted by grief? So I want to be as kind as possible when I talk about this, but I do need y'all to know, I probably should have disclaimed this, that I answer these in like a what would Chloe do kind of fashion. So it might not be catered specifically to your situation. This is like if I were you, this is how I would handle that situation. And you're not me, so you might handle things differently. But I'm going to relate it to my own experience through my own lens because that's the only one I've got. And we're going to open up this conversation by talking about how I really understand what you're saying. I have not lost anybody close to me around the holidays specifically, but this year more than others, for whatever reason, your girl has been struggling with the grief of the death of my sister. I have talked about this numerous times over numerous platforms. In 2017, I lost my sister. She was 30 years old. And I feel like I got through her death very quickly and almost easily. Like I came to a place of acceptance very quickly. And I always thought that was awesome. I was like, I think that's so great. I don't feel like I'm holding on to this like rock of grief all the time. And that's not to say that like over the last 8 years that she's been gone, I haven't had moments where I've cried or been upset or missed her terribly. Those things have happened numerous times. But I felt like it wasn't like this everyday thing. I felt like I cried every day for like a month and a half and then I was kind of done. And periodically I still have those moments. But grief is different for everyone. But I have noticed this holiday season in particular has been very hard when I have thought about my childhood and like the Christmas that I'm never going to get to live again. I don't know why. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. I don't know if it is because Saturn retrograded back into Pisces in my fourth house, which I feel like, we're always doing horoscopium on this podcast where we are coping through astrology. So, like, maybe it's got something to do with that. But I'm grateful that I'm in therapy. So, number one, I will say, I think that if you are struggling with grief, I am always going to recommend, especially if it's been a long winded thing. Like, if you have been struggling with grief for, I'm going to say anything beyond like 9 months. And don't get me wrong, every person is different. I don't think that anybody is ever really going to be over anything. I actually think there's a huge misconception when it comes to grief and people thinking you need to be over it, like you yourself thinking it, or other people putting that on you that haven't experienced that kind of loss. There is no getting over it. You're never gonna be over it. You'll never come to a place of being over it. The thing is, you get better at carrying it. That is the difference. I'm never gonna be over the fact that I lost my sister when I did, how I did, what happened. I'm never gonna be over that. But I have gotten better at carrying it. That said, I do feel like this holiday season, I have thought many times how much I wish my sister was around, how much I wish I could talk to her, how much I wish I could spend a holiday with her, how much I wish we could coordinate our holidays and like go home for the holidays together. There are so many things that I wish I could like, and I have sat and like cried big boohoo sobbing tears over this year in front of my Christmas tree, all sad. And I think the one comforting thought that I have had, and it's not just the grief and the death, it's also like the fact that I can't go back. And in this person's question, I know I didn't read it because we don't have all the context, but in this person's question, they did talk about like the nostalgia of the holidays a little bit and how it just seems like they just get more sad over time. I do think this is a very common experience. I think that everybody goes through this. The holidays become a bittersweet thing as you get older and more people are lost or things change or it seems like back then it was simpler. The thing is, it wasn't necessarily always simpler. And we're never going to be able to go back. I'm never going to be able to wake up at 10 years old and go sit next to my sister on a holiday and open up all of our toys and spend the rest of our days playing with our toys. That's never going to happen again. Okay. Like that is the reality of the situation. Even if she was alive today, we would never have that experience again. And I mean, we could try to make it, but it just would never be the same. It's something that is precious to childhood, right? If you had that kind of childhood. But something that has been a comforting thought to me in all of this has been, but now I get to make new memories. But now I get to make new traditions. But now I get to live life on my own terms. And I do feel like it is very easy, unfortunately, to look back in hindsight and to look at the past and see all of its wonderfulness and goodness. And I think you should allow yourself that. I certainly have. I think you should allow yourself nostalgia. I think you should allow yourself grief always. But I would encourage when you feel ready, and it may not be this holiday season, it might be next holiday season, right? This holiday season might be still too fresh. I would encourage you to consider how you might begin to build these next holidays for the rest of your life in a way that suits you, in a way that means something to you. Because at the end of the day, and I know this sounds really morbid, and I'm not like, but it is such a life lesson, unfortunately. And trust me when I tell you, I have been in this, okay? I have been in the trenches with this year, not just about the holidays, but like overall. You really only have yourself in this lifetime. Yes, you can pick up people along the way. Yes, you can have significant others. You can have friends. You can have family. And those are all wonderful. We are a communal species. But at the end of the day, you really have yourself. And everybody isn't always around 24/7. It's you and your thoughts and you and yourself. And I would always make a case for doing your best to become your own best friend and start from a basis of self-love so that you can sit and have those moments on your own that are special. Because if you're always waiting for somebody else to make the holiday season special or somebody else's presence to do that for you, I hate to break it to you, whether it is grief or not, you're fighting a losing battle. And taking that and putting it into your own hands, it's always going to be the more surefire way to do things. Because when you, like, and I'm not trying to say like you need to like always rely on you, because I think that creates hyper independence and we don't need that either. It's a delicate balance, okay? It's double-edged sword. But something that I've been doing a lot this year that has brought a lot of grief, but it's been healing to let myself sit and cry and still have the experience, is I've done a lot of sitting in front of my Christmas tree by myself. My husband works two jobs. He is the person I see the most in my life, and he's not home a lot right now. So if I'm not like doing outings with friends, I'm just at home working on my own craft or spending time by myself. And for a long, long time, I really hated that. And I felt lonely and grief stricken. And I know we're getting into a lot, but just stay with me for a second. I've been spending a lot of time since I put my tree up, just like in front of it, asking myself, like, what do these traditions even mean to me? Like, do we just all get old and die and the holidays get more and more sad as we continue because people keep dying? And like, I have definitely gotten to the point in my life where I realize that the most precious thing in life are people. And it's not about what you can purchase or what you can obtain or what like dreams or goals you can accomplish before the new year. I have gotten to the stage in my life where I have realized that people are the most precious. Family, people, friends, found family, that is the most precious thing. And that being said, when those connections are the most precious, like it is a very harrowing thought to sit there and be like, wow, like, is this just what's going to happen until I die? You know, it sounds terrible when you say it that way. But I think instead, something that I've chosen to do is even if I feel grief, even if I'm crying and I feel sad about this loss and how I'm never going to have this nostalgic moment again with people that I physically can't have it with anymore, whether they were alive or not, I allow myself to recreate new memories with myself. So, the thing that I've been doing is that my sister, she used to read Harry Potter to me a lot. Okay. Like that was something that we had in childhood. And it's like one of the many reasons I will probably never give up the Harry Potter series. Like, I cannot like JK Rowling and I can do my best not to give her any money at this stage, like getting things secondhand. I can do my absolute best, but I will probably never give up the Harry Potter series, even though we know what has happened, because it has strong nostalgic ties to my sister that has passed on for me. And it's something that when I want to feel close to her, it's a tool that I use. And this year, I was actually gifted a couple of books from the series. And I've just been sitting in front of my Christmas tree almost every morning and reading a few chapters. And sometimes I cry. I just think about her and how much she would have enjoyed this experience with me. Maybe not as an adult, but as a kid. And I just let myself make those new memories. And I'm not sad. Like, I am sad, but I'm not like, I am sad, but I'm okay holding that grief. It is okay to feel all of the feelings. It is okay to be sad. It is okay to feel grief. Pain demands to be felt. Pain demands to be felt, and it will get louder and louder and louder until you feel it. And like, even though those are new memories I'm making with myself and they are kind of bittersweet, I am not like resentful of the time. I'm like, wow, like that's so sweet that I have so much love that has nowhere to go for her, that even 8 years later, I can sit in front of my tree around the holidays and think about the nostalgic time when we used to be really into this magical world together. And that can mean something to me, right? That can be something for me. And it's a new memory that I'm making with myself. I've considered that I might revisit these books every year around the holidays. Maybe not reading every single one. Like this year, I'm committed to the first four before Christmas. But I feel like that is like a new thing that I'm doing with myself, right? So, how do you want to carry forward traditions around the holidays for yourself? It is a sad thought. It is a grim thought. It is a grief stricken thing. But it is an important question to start to analyze. How do you want to carry it forward yourself? It will never be the same again. Like, and it's okay that it will never be the same again. That can be true while you are also building new traditions with yourself and deciding what makes this holiday special for you, what makes any season or any holiday special for you. I get kind of sad right around September every year when fall comes in, because the last year that my sister was alive, she was actually supposed to come visit me for, I want to say it was like Halloween or Thanksgiving that year, and she passed away before it could have happened. And like even 8 years later, like I still kind of struggle at the transition into fall, but I ask myself how I can honor her death while also honoring myself. How can I do things that remind me of her while also making new memories myself? And funny enough, like going my first Bath and Body Works trip of the year, is usually how I honor her because it's something we used to talk about all the time. We didn't often do it together because we lived in different places, but it's something that like I always am like, hell yeah, this trip is for me and you, boo. Like I always get one for her and light one for her, you know? So it just like that's what I mean. Like I know this was a really long response, but I feel like when it comes to grief and the holidays, it is something that probably throughout your life it's going to continue to. I'm not trying to impress upon you that it's just going to get worse, but it isn't it can become difficult, but it also opens a new doorway and a new opportunity for you to try something else. So like what ways did this family member make these holidays special, and is there a recipe you can make to honor her? Is there an activity that you always did together? Is there a specific decoration you can put out? Is there something you can do to kind of give a head nod to that person that you were so close to? And also, I feel like it can be kind of a cop out, but I do ask myself sometimes, like, would they want me to not enjoy this time? No, if they were here, they'd be living it up right next to me. And that in turn sometimes gets me excited for the holiday. So I hope that was helpful. Question number 2 is, do you have any advice for coping with chronic illness related to health anxiety when your life is full of constant appointments, tests, and medical stress? So I'm going to be so for real with you. This is something that I'm in therapy for, okay? This is something that I am in therapy for right now. My number one goal in therapy is to become mentally well enough that I will book an appointment and actually go, that I will book a labs appointment and go get my lab work done. Because I'm the type that will make the appointment and then just not go and avoid all of it, which is not good. I know that I have chronic health conditions that I'm not being seen for. And it's actually a very big problem for me because I feel like I'm not getting the help or the care that I actually need. So I don't know that I'm the best person to ask about this, but the one thing I will say is if you can create a divide, this is what I would do. If you can create a divide, do so. Meaning, go to your appointments, do what you got to do, write the appointments on the calendar, but then put it away. And do not let the number one rule to me of health anxiety, the number one, and this also comes from my therapist, but also many people online that struggle with many people online that also struggle with like health related anxiety like I do and like you do. The number one thing that most people will tell them, and it does help in my experience, is no Googling your symptoms. No Googling your symptoms. When you are in between appointments, no Googling your symptoms. That actually makes health anxiety 10 times worse because you think that you are the expert and know everything, and you'll start to convince yourself that you are either pregnant, dying, or have cancer. Those are like the top three. Um, so it's not it is not recommended. And obviously, like compartmentalizing is easier said than done, but I feel like for myself who struggles with health anxiety very badly, that is the only thing that helps me is to I'm in therapy. And if you can get into therapy, I would recommend that. Um, Also, I noticed in your question that you specifically said not in a hypochondriac kind of way. I would encourage you to, when you seek help, to go over that with a mental health professional because you would be surprised what falls under the branch of hypochondria. Hypochondria gets a bad rap in the sense that people think that it's just like fear of germs. I don't have fear of germs, but I would say that I am a hypochondriac. It's not just like obsessively washing your hands because you're afraid of germs. It is health anxiety. It is being afraid of the worst case health scenario, or always afraid that your body is going to do something out of control, or, it falls under more than you would think. So hypochondria might actually be like a helpful title. The only reason I bring that up is I believe personally that diagnoses are excellent if they help you to get care and help. But if they don't and they just cause you to spiral and do nothing with it, the diagnosis really doesn't matter. because it doesn't help. If you just have a word that causes you distress, the diagnoses didn't help, you know? If it actually helps you to get care and to get seen and to get with the right professionals, then a diagnosis is totally helpful. But you don't have to carry any labels if you feel like it's unhelpful. And that is not a diagnosis from me either. I am not a professional and I cannot do that. But I just noticed in some of the stuff that you said, you were like, not in a hypochondria way. I actually feel like hypochondria is more than most of us have been shown on like TV and stuff. But basically, I'm here to tell you that I don't feel like I'm the best person to address this question, but if it were me, that's what I would do. I would get in with a mental health professional as soon as possible to help me get the coping strategies in place that would allow me some distance from the stress. Because ultimately, you can't control what everybody else is going to do, but you can control yourself and your responses. And a therapist is going to help you figure out the coping strategies that would help you. So I'm always going to recommend that, especially because I see that you're someone that goes to the doctor, unlike myself, and like gets the help that you need. I would hope that you would be able to also loop mental health in there as well, because mental health is health. Like it is still, especially I believe if you have chronic illness, mental health is just as important as physical health. I would say for everybody, but especially if you're somebody that deals with chronic illness, that takes a toll on your mental health too. Question number 3, we have, I've been journaling to heal my inner child, but I keep getting stuck. How can I move past these blocks? So first of all, saying that you're stuck is the block. If you have an internal belief that you are stuck, that is the block. You are not stuck. Don't even tell yourself that you are stuck. You're not what is that phrase that doesn't even make sense? It's like you're not a tree, move, but trees also move. Like it has been proven that like trees like shift and move and like their roots don't necessarily hold them in one place, like they shift over time. But people will say that like you're not a tree, move, like but trees also move. Anyways, but you're not stuck. You're not stuck. And it is like the belief that you are stuck, I do feel like will hold you back. But also, it depends on what it is that you feel like is stopping you. You didn't really elaborate in the things that you talked about. So I don't know like where the initial like stuckness is really coming from. But also, I think there's something valid about sometimes the inner child doesn't want to be poked and prodded at and healed. Sometimes the inner child just wants to be heard and seen and doesn't want you to do anything about it. And I don't mean like if there's something really wreaking havoc on your life and you feel like it's coming from the inner child, obviously we got to meet in the middle somewhere. But sometimes the inner child will stop us because it just wants to be listened to. And once it feels comfortable being listened to, once you feel that inner part of you is listened to, it kind of calms down a little bit because it feels seen and heard and validated. So I would encourage if you feel like you keep getting stuck, maybe there isn't something else to fix, right? We can get into these spirals of always feeling like we need to fix the next thing and do the next thing. And maybe there isn't something to fix here. Maybe there's just something to witness. That's what I would be paying attention to. The next thing is, how do I overcome my fear of failure when it makes everything fitness, spirituality, school feel impossible? This was such a great question. And I loved this person's entire like written thing because I myself have really dealt with this one. I feel like I'm an expert. My last episode, I kind of touched on this a little bit when I talked about like your manifestations need a reboot, basically. And I talked about how like I had a lot of things that I had brought into my life. It felt like they were like violently ripped away from me. And in like the worst ways, when they were like these big things that I felt like were so important to my life. And like my house, my car, it was a lot of like status symbols for me that came just kind of tumbling down. And I felt like this gave me this, like, why do I even try? Why do I dream big at all? Why do I let myself even get excited about a better future when this is the result? And I got to this place where I didn't want to do anything. Like, I didn't feel like I could manifest anything. I didn't feel like I could dream bigger. I didn't feel like I could make a good morning routine because I would just fail. I didn't feel like I could do a good night routine because I would just fail. I didn't feel like I could start a workout regimen because I would just fail. Like, I was so ingrained to believe that I couldn't trust myself that I had to start there. So what you have kind of said to me is that you feel like you don't trust yourself to not fail. And there's two parts to this. Number one, we have to look at failure. What if you were two failures away from succeeding more than you'd ever succeeded before? How quickly would you try to fail if you knew that? You would be like, oh my God, bring on the failure. Let us fail faster, okay? We have to look at failure in a new way. We have to look at failure and say, okay, that was an opportunity to learn and grow. But now what did we learn? How are we growing? And let's try again if it's something that's really important to us. Then we have to look at the aspect of self trust because I'm just going to tell you right now, it makes me fucking sick. When I think about this current society and paradigm and how so many of us are conditioned, all of us really, are conditioned to not trust ourselves. If you trusted yourself, you wouldn't need a 14-step skincare routine, okay? I can tell you that much. You wouldn't need all these products to get yourself up in the morning. You wouldn't, like, so many businesses would go out of business if people trusted themselves more. And so many of us, especially with the rise of like AI, especially with the rise of like, there have been like billionaires, I don't remember which one, that like said sleep, sleep is like the enemy of these billionaire companies because it's the time where your attention is not focused on them because you're sleeping. And that just like really messed with my brain when I heard that. I don't remember which company said it, but like one of them, one of the major billion corporations said that like sleep was their greatest competitor because when you're sleeping, you're not paying attention to advertisements and they're not making sales. So we are literally programmed from every single angle to not trust ourselves. And it can also come in the form of like family and friends, them not trust, like help, like facilitating the lack of trust if they like put us down or we're surrounded by the wrong people. This is why I always tell y'all that your friendship circle is extremely important as well as your familial circle. And if you don't have supportive people around you, it really is time to spend some time alone and cultivate a new circle. I myself am a level 7 susceptible, and I think I'm very influenceable. And it's why I don't keep very many people around me and why my circle is super tight. And I'm very careful about who I give my friendship to because I've gotten burned too many times. But um, that said, rebuilding self trust, honestly, I think if you're interested in reading something about this, I really liked Dr. Nicole LePera's book, How to Do the Work. I feel like she really encapsulated self healing and self work, especially if you want to rebuild self trust. That's a great resource. I want to say it's also available on Kindle Unlimited, if I'm not mistaken. So check that out if you're interested. But basically, to build self trust, you have to start keeping small promises to yourself on a daily basis. So they have to be easy things, though, in the beginning, because right now you don't trust yourself. Right now, you don't trust yourself to complete anything that you start because you've probably let yourself down a lot. And that said, in order to rebuild trust, we have to start with a small thing. Like, oh, I'm going to drink 8 glasses of water, or eight. No, that's not what I meant. Oh, I'm going to drink 8 ounces of water every morning. So you fill that glass before you go to bed. You have that water in the morning, or you're going to brush your teeth in the morning, or you're going to go outside for 5 minutes every morning, or you're going to take 3 deep breaths right when you wake up in the morning and sit up out of bed every morning. And just dedicating yourself to a practice. For me, I've talked about this before in a like last week's episode, I believe. I started doing my hair 2 times a week and just like preserving my hair in between doing it. And I've also started taking a daily vitamin, a daily supplement. Those are 2 ways that I keep promises to myself. One of them is a little more flexible because I do my hair like every 3 to 4 days and then like care for it in between. And then the vitamins I do every day, every morning. And doing that, keeping those promises to myself over time has reminded me actually, I am a trustworthy person. Actually, I can trust myself to continue to do something. And you need to make it so easy, though, that you will commit to it, that you will stay with it. You need to make it something unbelievably easy. That's why I suggested like 3 deep breaths or a minute of meditation, or, maybe you want to do saying your affirmations or taking those 3 deep breaths right when you sit up in bed, or just having a gratitude practice right in the morning, or maybe it's something at night that you do. Maybe that's easier for you. And I would encourage, if you feel like you're forgetful, set an alarm on your phone to remind you to do this thing. Even if it's like midday and you have to drop everything to do it, something that takes like 2 to 5 minutes that you can commit to every single day. That is like, because that is how you're going to build rapport with yourself, and yourself is going to go, oh, actually, I can be trusted with things. I can be trusted to get things done. I can be trusted with tasks because look at what I do every day. And once you feel like that is an ingrained thing, most people say 21 days. I would argue it takes about 90. You need to do something consistently for 3 months in order for it to be an ingrained habit that you don't have to think about anymore. Then you add something else in, or you do it the thing for longer. If it's meditation, you add a few minutes. If it's taking deep breaths, you add a few breaths onto that, right? It's adding to, but you have to slowly build this thing, right? And that also falls in line with like gentle parenting too, like parenting yourself, reparenting yourself. So ultimately, self-trust, though, self-trust and re-identifying what failure means and flipping the script on failure. So those are the 2 things that I think are going to help the most. Okay, next up we have, you talk about being treated like a goddess in relationships. What does that actually look like, and why did it bring up uncomfortable emotions for me? Okay, so it's so funny because I do feel like, number one, I'm gonna say something, and I'm gonna say it with conviction because I really mean it. I literally look at my husband and I will tell him, I have a portal between my legs that brings life into this planet. You will lower your voice when you speak to me. And I'm not like, I didn't stutter. Like, I think the way, and this like, this is such a bigger topic than I even have room for in this episode, but like, the way that we have done women dirty, the way that we have done women dirty in this paradigm that we are currently in, I don't care what anybody says. We do live in a patriarchy, not a matriarchy. And the patriarchy to me is very much about everything is good for men, like the entire world being catered towards men. And once you kind of pop the lid on that, you can't really see it any other way because it's prevalent everywhere. Men have been set apart and held up on a higher pedestal than women for such a long time that I feel like when we meet women that have high standards, that get what they want, that don't take no for an answer, that believe in sacred rage, that um, have a commanding tone or presence. Don't you notice how when a man does that, they're like congratulated, but when a woman does that, they're a bitch or an asshole? And especially like in a work environment, I would say when a woman is in charge, suddenly she's bossy or a bitch. But when a man takes charge, he's a leader. He's a leader, and we love that, right? There are so many things I could say. I don't really feel like getting up on a feminist soapbox because to me, it's not even about being feminist. It's like, I demand to be treated like a goddess in my relationship, especially because there are so many ways in which my own internal flame has been snuffed out or put down throughout my entire life. Like, I was actually just journaling about this morning. We're going to get deep today, okay? This was a deep question. I was thinking about how the size of my breasts, okay? This outfit that I have on is not really doing it justice, but like, girl, I wear an H cup, okay? They're large. They're large and in charge. And I was thinking about it this morning, journaling on it, how my beliefs about my chest have been shaped by men for my entire existence. My school crush in elementary school, fucking Trevor. I'm going to name all these assholes. I have no shade. I hope you do listen to this episode and I hope you do feel bad. Um, I was like visiting him when I was like 12 years old. And the first thing he said to me was like, wow, you've grown. Your chest has too. My chest wasn't even in my mind. Okay. Not even once did I think about that. And I was 12 and I felt like shame around my body all of a sudden. And I remember that night, like I had brought these like silk PJs with me and I didn't even want to wear them around this boy because to me, I was just a kid. I was still a kid that like wanted to like play outside and in the dirt and shit. And suddenly I was being sexualized immediately. Um, in my own house at like as like a 14, 15-year-old, I had another boy that was a friend of, his name was Jordan. It's my mom's friend's son. I was coming down the stairs and I had like a white crop top on with a pair of pajama bottoms. And mind you, at this time I was still young and I didn't really have like a huge chest the way I do now. But they were like, I don't know. Again, I was just a girl with a body. This was weird for me. And this boy had boy, and I say boy derogatory, okay? I say boy with all disrespect. He was like, go put some clothes on in my own house, okay? In my own house that he was a guest in. Which to me, I was just walking around my house in a shirt. Like, what do you mean? And I've also had like, gosh, I know that there has been more than that. Like I wrote like a bunch of instances out that really pissed me off. Like even within the last couple of years, like one of my brothers said some shit about my chest to me one time. Like I have been sexualized by so many men in my life that it has really like fucked me up in a way. Like it has made me see men in a negative way. And I'm having to work on that. I'm having to heal through that and recognize that like it isn't all men. Not all men treat women like sexual objects. A lot of them do. I'm not saying that there aren't plenty of them that do, but I have felt so much shame around my own body and how I should dress for all of my life since I can remember because of being sexualized by men. And from the time that I was still like in elementary school, this was happening to me. And I used to just kind of be like, oh yeah, that's my life, like whatever. And like even like not friends necessarily, but like family members would be like, oh, well, your breasts are the biggest in the family, you know? And it just like, I have so much shame around this part of my body to the point that like the first time that my husband and I were like intimate, we were boyfriend, girlfriend at the time. I like refuse to take my shirt off in front of him. And I am such a like brazen woman. Y'all know that about me, okay? I am so brazen and outspoken. Nobody can tell me the what for. I will like, no. I am such a brazen individual. And for the longest time, I wouldn't take my shirt off in front of him because I was so ashamed. Like he could see everything else. But I would not let him see like the top half of me uncovered. And eventually that changed. But like, anyways, I'm on this tangent about being sexualized by men because I feel like that was such a place of disempowerment for me that to this day, I still struggle with seeing myself. Like, there are so many women out there that show off their voluptuous bodies and I'm like, damn, they're so hot, but I don't see myself that way. I'm like, oh no, never me. Like, never me. I should be covering up. And I've been really trying to unpack that lately. And I feel like in terms of being treated like a goddess, goddess energy to me is not being reduced down to a sexual object. It is also not being reduced down. I do not get to be reduced down to being underneath men. And I will be treated like I think about people like Cleopatra. Cleopatra, when we are taught about her throughout history, she was somebody that had magnetism and commanded her own presence. That to me is goddess energy embodied. It's, I am not subservient to any man. I'm not going to cower down just because I'm a woman. I'm not, and you will speak to me with fucking respect. And it's not like, I am not a, you will give me respect. Like, I give everybody respect at a baseline as long as you are respecting me. I will give it freely, but then if you disrespect me, thank you very much. I will now be disrespecting you. I don't keep giving blind respect. And I do think that that comes from being raised by authoritarian parents that demanded respect, especially my mother. She would say, like, I demand respect. You will respect me, when she doesn't like respect anyone. Okay. I'm at a point in my life now where I will disrespect my mother to her fucking face. I do not give respect when it is not given to me as well. I will give it at a baseline, but if you're not then giving it out, I will stop giving it back. And I do feel like that to me, standing up for yourself, knowing your worth, knowing your value, that to me is goddess energy. It has nothing to do with narcissism or being full of yourself or being conceited. It is knowing at the end of the day, no matter what you look like, no matter if your hair's done or not, no matter if you are dressed to the nines, no matter if you're showing skin or covering up, you are still worthy. You are still allowed to stand up for yourself, take care of yourself, and you are also to be treated with fucking respect. And that to me is like a goddess like commands her own energy. And the interesting part is you said, why does that bring up uncomfortable emotions for me? I feel like something that I have read about when in terms of goddess energy is sometimes women, there is this like, we get mad at each other when we see somebody treating us favorably, when we don't feel like we have gotten that, or when we see women that embody characteristics that we would like to have, but we feel like we can't have it, or we could never have it, or there's so many reasons why we can't have it. It's jealousy. It's jealousy. And or it may not even be jealousy, it could be envy. Envy and jealousy are different. Jealousy is, you can't have that if I can't have that. Or I want that and you can't have it. I want to take what is yours. Envy is, oh, I don't want what is yours. You can have what is yours, but I would also like that too. That to me is envy. Even though the word sounds meaner, if we look them up and actually compare them, envy is the one that's technically, if you're going for a more positive effects, in my opinion, it is okay to be envious of your friends because you don't want to take their joy from them. You just want what they have too, in addition. Jealousy is where you want to take what other people have. So I wouldn't even say it's jealousy. I don't think you want to take the power that I have. I think that for yourself, maybe it feels like you can't cultivate that, or there's so many reasons, or you weren't given that, or your upbringing went against that, or you've been conditioned this way and that way to think that you can't have that kind of power and command or respect in your life. And so when you see other women who get it, it pisses you off. That's what I think. Or it also could come down to the whole like, gosh, it's like feminism and like the boot theory. I feel like this analogy also kind of like ties into this, but I don't know who stated this quote, unfortunately. I wonder if anybody knows. Some TikTok guy apparently, but I don't know exactly who said it. I apologize. Credit to that person if y'all know, comment. But patriarchy is like a man having his boot on a woman's neck. Feminism is a woman complaining about the boot. Conservatives insist there wasn't a problem with the boot being on the neck until the woman started talking about it. If she would just be quiet about the boot, there would be no problem. Male allies think that's a way to talk about the boot being on the neck that appeals to everyone and doesn't men allies think there's a way to talk about the boot being on the neck that appeals to everyone and doesn't alienate those that would help remove the boot. Good guys insist that not all men wear boots. Women with internalized misogyny insist that they have a boot on their neck by choice and they love it. So that would be trad wives. They insist something is wrong with women complaining about the boot. The boot is never removed from the neck. So basically, to me, when I'm in my goddess energy, I can complain about the boot all I want, or I can also simply say, like, you're not putting that fucking boot on my neck. Like, I feel like goddess energy doesn't do any of that. It just says, get your crusty boot away from me. You're not putting a boot on my neck because no, I'm going to get the fuck up off the floor. You're not even going to be within neck range of me to put your boot on my neck. That to me is the true goddess, is standing up and throwing the boot in the corner. Like, we're not doing that. I also think that it has taken me a long time to come out as such a like powerhouse of a person and not stand for, I used to be like, I feel like I used to be more on the rungs of like, I was somebody that had internalized misogyny, and I probably still do. I guarantee you some of it is still in there, and I haven't totally come through all of that. I think as I'm working through all of the ways in which I was sexualized at such a young age, I am angry at men. I'm pissed, in fact. I'm angry as hell. Um, and I think it also takes a really powerful and comfortable man, somebody that is comfortable in their masculinity, to not take it personally when I'm over here raging about this shit. My husband is always like, "Yeah, girl, rage. Tell me about why men suck. Tell me about why we are problematic. Let me hear it, queen." I feel like it takes a very open and receptive man to hold those things and not get offended and not be like, "Well, I'm a man and you're offending me." No, we're not doing that either. But anyways, I feel like I just said a lot of things at you. I feel like I did not really organize my thoughts around this conversation well, but like ultimately, goddess energy in relationships to me is, it's self-respect. It's self-respect. At the end of the day, it's having enough self-respect to not let somebody disrespect you. And I don't mean like, and I also think it's like, you can disrespect me all you want, but I am going to then remove my presence. Like, my presence is a gift. My presence brings so much, and I don't mean that like, I don't mean that in a conceited way. I mean that in a genuinely, I know my worth, I know my value. I know that I treat people well. I know that I love the people that I love. I know that I respect the people that I love. I know that those that are close to me, I am a valuable person to have. And I also feel like my friends are those same people. They are valuable people that are in my life that I love and care for because I see such value in them. And because of that, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to eat by myself. You know, like, I'm not afraid to stand up and say, you know what? I don't like where this conversation is going. I don't like the things that you've said to me. I don't agree. And I'm going to go eat over here at my own table. And also, just because I don't want you to eat with me doesn't mean I don't want you to eat. You know, like, I think that's like a big part of it too. But I feel like goddess energy in relationships to me is, it's having self-respect. It's having self-respect and knowing your worth and not accepting or settling for anything less than what you know you are worthy of. Even if that's going to ruffle some feathers, even if that's going to start an argument, even if like, and you don't even have to start an argument. You can just say no. Like, you can just say, actually, that's not acceptable for me, and then remove your presence. Like, I honestly think, especially in relationships, now obviously I'm talking about like a hetero relationship. I do think this can be different depending on the dynamic of your relationship, but I can only speak to what I have. And within that, I do feel like I know that my presence is is worthwhile. I know that I have a presence that my significant other loves to be around. And like, not to toot my own horn, but like, I'm my husband's dream girl, okay? I'm my husband's dream girl. I am easy to be with, but hard to get. Period. I am easy to be with, but I'm hard to get. And I know that my energy is infectious. I know that I have magnetism that he would love to be around at all times. When he is away for long periods of time, he misses the shit out of me. And when the man is acting like a fucking dog, um, I tell him I don't like that and I remove my presence. Like, and not in a, well, I'm just going to go over here and be pissed off now, blah, 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 blah. Like, no, girlfriend, I have skincare to do. I have friends to go call. I have a podcast to keep building. I have, like I got movies to watch. I got TV shows to catch up on. I got books to read. I have things to do, Lori, stuff, okay? So, I feel like that being said, this is like a whole episode in and of itself. But I feel like when it comes to goddess energy in the relationship, that's ultimately what I would say is it's having self-respect, knowing that you have worth, knowing that what you are worthy of, having a standard and not settling for less, not settling for less than that standard. And when somebody treats you like shit, you don't stand for it and you revoke access to you because yeah, like I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how else to say it. That's the vibe. Is it normal to hate your own creative work right after you publish it? And how do I deal with self-criticism that hits after posting? I'm going to be so for real with you. I have privated so many of my old videos, you can't find them anymore because eventually I start to grow to hate the things that I make. So, yes, it is normal to hate your creations. I actually recently privated every single video on my gaming channel, all of it. Deleted all my posts, privated all my stuff, and that channel is dead to me. They have like a whole issue going on with like being bought out by the Saudi government and all these other connections that I was not into. And I was like, this game, because I mainly played The Sims, this game is connected to so much shit that I don't ever want to be connected to. So I went through and privated everything. Also, I think in terms of the internet, it's weird that somebody can go back and listen to what I was thinking and saying a decade ago. Do I even agree with that version of myself? Probably not. I don't want people going back and listening to shit that I made 10 years ago. So I went through and privated everything. Same with my tarot channel. I didn't private everything, but I went through and privated like a ton of older videos. Basically, everything south of 2020 got privated. And mostly because I was like, people don't need to be seeing this. Like, I'm a different person now. I stand for different things now. I have different thoughts. I've grown as a person. And if somebody came across some of this stuff on a one off, they wouldn't have the entire picture of me. Nobody ever will have the entire picture of me. That's my job. And even I am still endlessly discovering. But I do think it's normal to grow to dislike your own work. I think that is incredibly normal. And I also think, though, that if you're constantly, like at the top of every year, getting rid of stuff, you had definitely have a problem with yourself. I think, once a decade, you're pulling a few things down. That's not really an issue to me because you have evolved so much as a person since then. But if you are constantly like making content and then removing all of it, I personally think that that is some deep rooted personal shame. And I would work on that. I would look into that about where you feel shame about who you are and what you're sharing. Because there are times where sometimes I make something and I'm like, that was not my best work. Like last week's podcast, I didn't feel like that was my best work. And I hemmed and hawed about whether I would post it. And then I was like, nah, I'm just going to post it. There were a few comments that were like, this video was so helpful. Thank you so much. So, like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes even you on your worst day helps somebody else, and it's kind of worth it. Even if you helped one person, like for me, that is enough for me. Even if I feel like I helped one or two people, like, awesome, I did my job. But ultimately, yes, I do think it's normal to hate your work for a while. I also think it's normal to love the work that you make. When you like really pop off on something, like there's one podcast episode that I made that I am so proud of. It's like my favorite episode of me that I've ever done. I have this one episode called People Pleasing Makes You Ugly. I think this episode is one of the best episodes of my podcast that exists. I feel like it really identifies my thoughts and my feelings clearly and correctly, and it's me as my best self. Like, that episode is what I wish I was giving to you all the time, but that episode just hit. I don't know why. It was a really good one, and I don't feel like that many people listen to it. 1,800 views on YouTube, and I'm not sure about on Spotify. I feel like it did not get the attention that it deserved because it was a really good episode, but I feel like that episode is like prized work. I did such a good job. But yeah, I think there's also there should be some work that you're also very proud of. And if you're never proud of your work, I think there is more to explore there in identifying self-shame. Where is the shame coming from? Is it in your own voice? Is there somebody else that has shamed you and you carry that? It's worth dissecting. I let go of a big part of my identity because it wasn't healthy, but now I feel lost. How do I rebuild myself and find out who I am again? Oh, Chile. It's going to take time. That's like literally the best answer I have for you is it's going to take time because it's going to take time and like self-exploration. The number one thing I can tell you to do that I felt like was the most helpful for me when I have gone through similar things is I keep a list on my phone of things that make me who I am. So, like things that I love, things that get me really excited or feeling awe or, those like really happy feelings. I feel like my list wasn't even that long, but like it took me a while to rebuild my sense of self after that, after like going through a mental health crisis. And also, like, I used to be Mormon for like 18 years and losing that was kind of a big deal too. Rebuilding your identity takes time. And learning who you are without this thing, it takes time. And the best thing you can do is like establish your connection with yourself over time. So, like I said, keep a note in your phone of things that bring that out in you. My list I know has like sushi listed on it because I love sushi. Going and looking at houses. I just love to like drive around neighborhoods and look at houses. That's something I get a lot of pleasure from. I love to cook. I love to host gatherings. I love to, these are just like things that really light me up on the inside. And you have to like rediscover those things about yourself and then practice them as much as possible. And you'll start to uncover more things. This is also a really good time to try new hobbies, new things that you think you might like. So, I got into Legos last time I had a mental health, crash out. That was a fun time. I still to this day build Legos because of that. There are so many different things you can try: ceramics, cooking, photography, video creation, podcast creation. Hobbies now, I think, are to a degree more accessible than they've ever been. This is a time for you to dive in and try new things, though, and just know that it's going to take time. You're not going to be able to rebuild yourself without this part of yourself for a while. It's going to take time for those new things to come in. I feel guilty and not good enough to return to my spiritual practices after taking a break. How do I reconnect without shame? Literally, your spiritual practice is for you. It is for you. Who is holding you to a standard about what your spirituality should look like? I know in modern society, we hear things like, oh, they're just an Easter Sunday Catholic, right? They go to church on Easter Sunday and that's it. Or, we hear a lot of negative connotations behind how people practice their spirituality. And the reality of the situation is it is a practice that is for you. So if you're not doing it at the frequency which you think that you should, you should deconstruct that. Who told you that it had to be a certain way at a certain interval? And whose rules are you following? Because for me, I only do my spiritual practice like maybe every new and full moon. And even then, it's not every time. Like, I don't always feel like I want to do it, so I don't. Sometimes I go through periods of time where I practice once every 6 months. It is not, and like I go through periods where I am doing stuff like every day. And I would not say that I harbor shame around that. Ultimately, I think it's because I grew up in a very regimented, we go to church every Sunday, we have activities every Thursday. I went to seminary, Bible study, scripture study every morning in high school for 3 years. Like, it used to be such a big part of my life that I felt like if I wasn't doing something every day, it felt wrong or weird. And the reality is, whose rules were those? Those were the church's rules. Those are rules for thee, not for me. Um, and now my spiritual practice, like it comes in bands. There are times when I'm very invested, and there are times when I'm not. And I don't need to feel guilty about that. It's okay. The practice is for you. And if you don't have the energy or the time, it's okay if your life has pulled you away for a time. I think in a lot of modern religions, we're told that like you need to have the discipline anyways and be a part of that spiritual practice every single week at least. And the reality is, it doesn't make room for the fluctuations of life. It doesn't make room for the fluctuations of we're going through a bout of depression. We're pulled away because we took a 3-week vacation to Europe and now we're just trying to get back into our routines. It doesn't leave room for fluctuation. And you're a human being, not a human doing. And fluctuation is part of the human experience. You're never going to be 100% in anything ever, ever. And it's all right to do things at the interval that you feel like are acceptable. And if you just needed somebody else to say that to you, I'm happy that I'm here to say it to you. Because the interval at which you practice your spiritual practice, it's ultimately a practice that is for you. And if you feel like you need it more in your life right now, start a new practice. Get into practicing more frequently. Today is a new day. It is time for the Yapper Girl Corner. I'm already in my pajamas, so I don't really feel like I should change. Like, this is a nightgown. So, we're doing Christmas jammies, real cute. But I don't really have much for the Yapper Girl Corner this week. I feel like this episode is already kind of long. Y'all, I am tired though. I've been still rewatching Stranger Things, okay? I'm on season 4 finally. The new season has already come out if you're watching this. It comes out, I'm filming this episode on a Monday. It comes out on Wednesday, so just in a couple of days. And I'm really excited, but can I just say season 4, no spoilers, is scary. Like last night, I had it on my iPad and I was just trying to like fall asleep because I fall asleep with the TV on a lot. Like that's very common for me. The noise kind of soothes me. No, Stranger Things is not a sleepy time show. I had 11 and Hopper enter my dreams so many times that like I was anxious all night. That is not a good show for bedtime. I will never do that to myself again, okay? But I'm really hyped for the new season. I know that there are some of you that are also watching. I hope you're hype. I would love to hear your theories. Try to keep it spoiler free if you can. In the comments, just because there might be other people that are still like watching or haven't seen the new season, or I hope by the time this is out I will have already watched the new season, or at least the first half that's coming out. But I'm really anticipating that this week. I have, you guys, oh my gosh, this is actually so cute. I am hosting Thanksgiving this year, which I usually host Thanksgiving every year, like no matter who comes over. But this year, I am hosting for new friends that I made this year. And I have 2 girlfriends coming over, and one of them is bringing their significant other. So I have 3 people coming over. And I'm just really excited. Like, we're all kind of contributing to the meal. And of course, the turkey is being made at my place because Chloe Taylor is the hostess with the mostest. I don't care what anybody says. I am. I am the hostess with the mostest. Like, I am devastated, y'all, that I don't live in a house. And I know this is something we talk about all the time because I lived in a house before and I do miss it. I don't miss the location of the house. Like, okay, I miss that it was on the water. That was fucking awesome. I don't miss that it was out in the sticks. That was really hard for me. But like, I miss having a house. I miss having all of the space that I had. I hope those of you that have been with me for a very long time understand the weight of this, the gravity of this. Like 2 years ago, I made an episode talking about making friends in your 30s and how I was having such a hard time and like everywhere I tried to go, I wasn't making friends. And it was just like, I felt like I was being hit with a stalemate every single time. And I literally said in that podcast episode, if I don't make friends by the time my lease is up, I'm going to move. Like in 6 months, I'm going to move. And then I was forced to move in 6 months. So it did happen. And then, like, upon moving, I moved in October. I met these people in March or April of this year. And so what, like, it did take a while. Like, from that point of making that episode, it took over a year before I made some new friends. But, like, you guys, oh my gosh, I have friends. I'm just really excited. It feels good to be a part of something else. It feels good to be a part of a community. It feels good to it feels good. It feels good to be a part of something that isn't me just like sitting at home and like building a business. Don't get me wrong, I've done that numerous times and I'm proud of myself and all of the things that I have done and accomplished, but it feels good just to like be a townie. Just to like be a townie, be a normie, be somebody that like my whole life isn't out there on the internet and like make friends with people and contribute something to a group without an expectation of something in return. And it's just like I basically walked in there and made myself secretary of this group and like I tried my best to keep track of people's birthdays and keep like birthday cards on hand and I really feel like I am like a town villager and my life like really desperately needed this. And I don't even want to say desperately because I think the reason I was able to find it is because I wasn't desperate at the time. Like I'd kind of given up all hope and I was just kind of trying things just to try. I even went to another event out here and did not really find anybody that I vibed with, but went to that. Then I went to this event and I had such a good time that like it totally has transformed my life. I feel like I see these people pretty routinely, even outside of meetup. And yeah, like it feels so good. It feels so good to have other people that I talk to that it's not just like me and my spouse every day and our cats. I love my spouse, but he cannot be my everything. So that feels good. I'm still definitely looking for my like local girl gang. I'm still looking for like somebody to go grocery shopping with and like somebody to go on a hot girl walk with. I'm definitely still looking for like an even tighter circle, but I feel like this is such a great start and I'm not trying to discount anybody that I have met by saying that. Like frankly, I feel like I probably would be able to do more of those things, but many of them also live in other places. And so like it's not very convenient for us to meet up and grocery shop. Um, but I just like I don't know. I feel like this season of my life has been very healing from the past that I have had. And though I'm still going through it, girl is still in therapy. My last therapy session was really hard. I cried a lot. Your girl really is in her healing era and like things are getting better and my mental health is feeling better. I'm feeling better. And you know what I love about this era of my life too is that I feel like I actually rest so much more. Like, not only am I actually literally resting, like physically sleeping, resting, but girl, I am reading so many books right now. I have read so much over the last little while. I have been reading a bunch. I've been resting. I've been watching a lot of TV and movies. I've been plotting a lot of Patreon content, which this seems like a good time. If you're not following me on Patreon and you like the show, please consider. I actually have so much content coming out at like the end of this month. So like within the next week or so, I have a vlog coming out. I have a read along vlog. So two separate vlogs coming. I also have a pick a card coming out. Is that it? Are those the three things? Oh, and then we'll also like announce December's book. We're going to be reading Akamath, so A Court of Mist and Fury, which is the sequel to A Court of Thorns and Roses, which we read this month. So like, yeah, like I feel like I'm having such a good time making Patreon content. I also recently started taking Margarita Nazrenko's course, Becoming Her. I love her work. Her book, The New Rules, I have read or listened to numerous times. Her work always like empowers me to be my most bad bitch self. And I recently, her courses were all like 40% off, and I managed to snag Becoming Her. And I've been taking her course. I've really liked it. Some of it reminds me of Manifestation Babe's course in the sense that it's like rewriting your limiting beliefs. And I feel like we should do a podcast segment on that because I think a lot of y'all would really benefit from that. Anyways, um, I'm tired, y'all. I need to go. I need to go drink some water and put my glasses on. I got things to do, Lori stuff. I need to go order all my Thanksgiving food because I am cooking, but I need to like put in a grocery pickup for it because it is getting kind of late and I need to have these things done. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. Thank you for all of your questions. If you would like to ask questions in the future, you can do so at my website, chloetaylor.com. There is a thing called Ask Chloe that you can go into and ask questions, tell me your scenarios, or you can follow me on Instagram, and every so often I put out a story and I'll ask for your questions in my stories. So that is what we got this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do not forget, when you stand on your own authenticity, you empower everyone around you to do the same, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.